Last week, a coin dealer on this channel said that his stack is 75% silver and only 25% gold. But not every coin dealer thinks that that is the right move. In fact, today we're going to be talking with a coin shop owner who is even more aggressive into silver. But why is that? So we are going to be joined today by Josh from Minot Coin Bullion, who is going to tell us why 90% of his stack is silver and only 10% is gold. So let's get into it and get Josh in the channel and find out exactly what's going on. My channel is sponsored by sdbullion.com. New customers can get their first order of gold or silver at spot by going to sdbullion.com/new. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are joined by our friend Josh from Minot Coin Bullion. Josh, how are you today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. Now, Josh, I want to get right into it. You know, last week I was in Mike's shop at Mid-America Coins out in Grove, Oklahoma. And one of the things I talked to Mike about, and that was a video on the channel last week, so if you guys haven't seen it, I'll put a link down below, is he had said that while he does stack plenty of gold, and there was plenty on the screen there in that video, he actually stacks 75% of his stack is silver. So he does 25% gold, 75% silver. And that is fiat value, guys. That's not like, 4 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. So, Josh, I don't know what your ratio is, but can you tell me, do you stack more gold or silver? And if you don't mind telling us percentage of what to what and why, I would love to hear it. What's going on?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would tell you quite honestly, let me think of a percentage. I think I got it in my head now, but I was going to say in my shop inventory compared to my personal inventory, it's very similar percentage wise. I'm very, very silver heavy. If I had to pick a percentage, I would say probably 90% silver, 10% gold. And that's what I keep typically in inventory in the store as well, because that is what customers demand. I probably sell 90% of my sales are in silver, 10% gold. So that's really the ratio I try to keep in the store and then in my personal stack as well.
So why do you think so many people are into silver? Is it because maybe it's just more affordable? Has gold become unaffordable for a lot of people? Or is there something else to it? Because yourself, gold is not unaffordable. So why would you stack 90% of your stack in silver? Is there a different reason?
Well, affordability is one. Starting out when I first started stacking long ago, it was just easy to, throw some money towards silver rather than make a commitment and buy an ounce of gold. So that's how I got started. But as far as the customers are concerned, yeah, I think affordability is one reason. Second reason, and most importantly, I think more and more people, myself included, just believe silver has better long-term potential. There's more, I guess, stored energy, I would say, in silver, because I personally believe, this is my opinion, that it is grossly undervalued right now in relation to gold. I know there's a lot of people that feel that way. Because of that, we feel that there's more potential in silver for gains percentage-wise versus gold right now. And that can just be done by looking at ratios. I know a lot of people don't like the gold to silver ratio talk, but I'm a believer in it, and I think it matters, and I think you can play it to your advantage. And right now it signals buy silver. So that's where I'm at. And that's what customers in my part of the world are doing too. And that's why I keep my shop inventory, kind of mirroring, at least percentage wise, what I keep in my personal stack.
Fair enough. And for the record, I agree with that, but I'm trying to get your perspective first instead of leading you, because one thing people tell me when I'm doing my interviews is you always lead them, and I'm not trying to do that. It's just I'm very opinionated on this topic as well. So now that we've heard your side, I am also roughly around 80 to 20 gold. And that's, again, like I said earlier, fiat value, not just, 1 ounce of gold for every 5 ounces of silver. And I also believe that silver is grossly undervalued. And there's a lot of reasons I believe that. But Josh, I want to get your reasons. Why do you believe that silver is so grossly undervalued? And I'm not talking about GSR, but is there like another reason, like economic wise or, something like that?
Well, I think the reason why it is undervalued right now is plain and simply manipulation. Big banks, longs and shorts of silver contracts, they can artificially suppress the price of silver. And they've been doing it my whole life, really. So from that perspective, we're just kind of small pawns in their game that they're playing. But myself, and I know a lot of my customers as well, believe at some point that game of longing and shorting the market, controlling the silver prices, and these big banks and getting rich on the backs of us by doing that, hopefully will come to an end. There's nothing illegal about it, although banks like JP Morgan have faced astronomical fines because of what they're doing. They obviously bent or broke some rules at some point, and it cost them billions of dollars, but they can make that up in a day or two if they choose. So the manipulation, I think that's why it's so grossly undervalued. My hope, the hope of many, is that at some point it's going to become illegal, or it'll have to end, and silver will be able to self revalue. And when that happens, I believe I don't think it's ever going to get 1-to-1 to gold. I've heard people say, oh, it should be worth an ounce of gold. I don't believe that. But I believe it has huge, huge potential for price increase in relation to gold if that manipulation ends.
So when you talk about manipulation, I want to say something because I get this comment every time manipulation is brought up by a few viewers, is that they're sick and tired of hearing manipulation. There's no evidence of manipulation in the silver market. But to your point, and this is, you guys can Google this or use AI to research it, whatever you want to do. There's actually proof, and recent proof. Like you had said, JP Morgan, I don't remember what the fine was, but I think it was like, it was like 9 figures, wasn't it? Like it was really high.
Yeah, it was billions. Yeah.
Oh, so over 10 figures then that they
I sure thought it was. They can fact check me. I might be misremembering, but it was an astronomical amount of money that we can't fathom.
Yeah. Regardless of what it was a lot of money. And it was for spoofing the silver market.
Yep.
So think about it. If one person's been caught, how many people haven't been caught? Especially when you're talking about big money like that, it's really easy, for those big bankers with, unlimited funds to cover up things. I mean, that's how I look at it, at least.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another reason, and this is kind of straying from the topic a little, but another reason why I'm such a big believer in silver is, let's just say a billionaire wants to invest a large amount of money in physical silver. That one person, and there's a lot of billionaires, that one person can completely disrupt the physical market, which will have an incredible impact on spot price. We saw something a little bit that way, was it 4 or 5 years ago, where there was a Texas billionaire, I think we all speculated who it maybe was, that wanted to make I forget the numbers now, but it was a very large purchase of U.S. gold and silver. They would accept 90% silver, American Silver Eagles, and American Gold Eagles. And in order to fill that order, premium skyrocketed. That one person making one large purchase had a huge impact on the overall price of precious metal. That can easily happen again. It just takes somebody like Elon Musk. Oh, I want to have a position in silver. I'll buy $1 billion. or 100 million. And that's just going to have a domino effect on the market. And, in order to fill that order, the price is going to have to go up because of premium, most likely. But I think spot price will go up as well. So I don't know. That can easily happen.
Yeah, I could see where, we talk all the time about how, transactions you see in coin shops and whatnot really don't affect spot price. But I would imagine that, if someone with unlimited funds, once again, or basically unlimited funds, in our perspective, they are, jumps in and just really wants to go all in, where it could actually affect spot price, even in the physical form, or if they're just buying in the physical form, I should say. But premiums would be ridiculous, because you're right. I mean, there is plenty of silver out there for the amount of people that want it. But Josh, imagine, and I want to hear what your thoughts on this. Imagine for a second that, people start realizing how important it is to have, physical money, not fiat currency, but real money like gold and silver. Imagine if every taxpayer, we're not just going to say every American, so we'll exclude children and, so on and so forth. But just imagine if every single taxpayer in the U.S. decided to start stacking silver. I mean, there's not enough, right?
No, not even close. And, I've heard numbers, and I don't know who comes up with these, but I've heard it from multiple sources, that they estimate around 1% of wage earning Americans stack precious metal. For what it's worth. I've heard those numbers. Are they accurate? I don't know. I don't know how they can be 100% accurate, but that's 1%. Think about that. 1 out of 100 people.
Let's just assume it's 2%. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, fine. 2%. Now just think if all of a sudden that doubles, 4% now. That's a lot of people wanting to buy metal. To your point, if every tax-paying American wants to invest in precious metal, yeah, there's not enough to go around. So, we don't want to say that metals are scarce, because they're not, based on current demand. But if that demand ever shifts, to your point, where you have more people coming into the market that realize and understand the importance of holding real money, wow, all bets are off. The price could go parabolic. I mean, pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And I just want to be clear to your point that you just said. I'm not saying that there's a shortage of silver. There most certainly is not. But yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine what happens in that situation. So I think right now, besides the manipulation that we just spoke to, I think silver's biggest challenge right now is just there's not enough people that believe that it matters or think that it matters. And boy, it'd be crazy if that shifted. And I don't know. It'd be
wild times.
it would really be wild times. And I really wouldn't want to deal with the premiums on silver if that happens. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of what was happening in 22, 23 when the premiums on Eagles were nearing $20 an ounce. So yeah. So Josh, let's shift a little bit to what's going on in the current market in your shop. So has anything really changed since last we talked a couple of weeks ago with buyers and sellers coming into your shop?
No, not really. We're still seeing typical sales in the shop. So the amount of product going out the door is pretty typical for the time of year. It's the big change is the amount of people selling back to us. I've hardly had to use wholesalers at all because I have such a steady stream of inventory coming into the shop from the public. Most days we're buying more than we're selling. It's not because our sales have fallen off a cliff. It's just because the people selling to us is so much higher than normal. So that's what we're faced with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in Mike from Minot Coin Shop last week, and we hung out the entire day. And I'll tell you this, and maybe I'll put a couple of like B-roll clips that I took that I haven't used in any video so far up on the screen from when I was in his shop. But pretty much everyone that came in that day up until the very last minute was selling. At the end of the day, and I do mean literally the last 30 minutes, he had a guy come in and buy a couple of, I believe it was a couple of tubes of silver. Man, I have to remember that. I think it may have been 20 or 40 ounces. And then he had a guy come in and buy a bunch of gold. But that was literally end of day. If they had closed a half hour sooner, I don't think they would have had any sales. That said,
wow,
every customer, they were busy to the point there I didn't get as much footage as I wanted. I wanted to do some more stuff with Mike, and I couldn't do it because he was so busy. But they were all bringing in silver to sell. There was a guy that came in with rolls, and I'll try, like I said, to put some B-roll up on the screen, Josh. When you watch this back, you'll see it. That came in with rolls of, BU 1964 Kennedys, and one guy that came in with a Horace Wagner, 5-ounce silver bar and a bunch of other stuff he had laying around, silver eagles and stuff. One guy had come in with, some 90% silver and other stuff that was left to him. None of these people, by the way, that came in were hurting for money. They just, they saw where the silver price was and they wanted to get rid of it. And just no one was buying till the very end. So are you experiencing something like that in your shop?
A little bit similar. I mean, I think I told you before we started filming this video that I was open this past Saturday just for a couple hours before I had a whatnot auction. And the first 4 people were all sellers. And I opened earlier than normal. I opened at 9 a.m. to be open from 9 to 11. Within 15 minutes, I had 4 sellers to the tune of $25,000. So fortunately, during that day, we had some buyers too, or during that 2 hours. So I had somebody come and buy a couple ounces of gold, and some people buying, Morgan dollars, numismatics, some just coming in to get bullion. So, but the amount of sales didn't surpass what I bought from the public. So here I had another day last week where I bought more from the public than I sold. So it's a little different circumstance where, myself and I think other dealers as well have to work a little bit harder right now in current market to move inventory. The last thing I want to do is to ship off to refineries and have stuff melted. I'm a big proponent of stop the melt. Certain things I wouldn't care, but actual coin, I do not like melting. So I've had sales, to move excess product, and it's worked well for me. I'll have another sale this week because I have an excess of silver in the shop, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, most of the time I would much rather have extra metal in the vault than cash sitting in my bank account in this business, because what is the bank doing for my cash? You're getting next to no interest, depending on your account. And with all the horror stories we've heard about banks and accounts closing and people can't get their cash out, it makes me really not want to hold a lot of extra funds in the bank. But because of the situation we're in, where so much of the public is selling, we do have to have that cash on hand. So it's a delicate balance that we're playing right now.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Let me ask you, what do you think is going to kind of get people hyped about silver again? Does it need to get into the news cycle? And what gets it into the news cycle? Is $40 an ounce, $50 an ounce? What finally gets it there?
That's a good question. Yes, news cycle. People have short attention spans, so and they also have FOMO, fear of missing out, like we talk about a lot on this channel. So yeah, if silver does slowly creep or even quickly get to $40, it's going to hit the news channels. People are going to learn about it. Oh gosh, I need to get out and get some silver. And that's not necessarily the right time to buy, but if you were buying with FOMO when it hit 30, you're doing okay now, right? We're up over $37 an ounce. So it's not necessarily the best time to buy when everybody else is rushing in to buy. But I think it's never too late. I think there's just a really good opportunity with silver for the reasons we've already talked about. So yeah, I think if it does get into the news cycle, if it hits 40, who knows where it goes from there.
And honestly, sometimes the best time to buy is when no one else is, right? I mean, look at premiums right now and stuff. Wow.
Yeah, us as well as many other dealers across the country are giving it away. I mean, I have people come in, well, what's on sale? I'm like, well, spot's down $3 this week and it's next to no premium. So I guess everything's on sale, right? So, but yeah, I've kind of taught my customers where I have a sale once a week or once every couple of weeks. So I get that question, well, what's on sale? I have to remind them, gosh, you can buy 90% for no premium right now. You can buy 40% and 35% under melt. I'm selling cold dollars for melt. I mean, we just have all sorts of things that have next to no premium or less than no premium under spot. But the demand still isn't there for whatever reason. So I think, an uptick in price a little bit, and then you get it in the news cycle again, and we're going to see a big shift in demand. And it can happen quickly. We've seen it happen quickly. We didn't get here overnight where we have an excess of people selling. That took some time, but the script can flip quite quickly. And I think it will again. It's just typical cycle.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So, Josh, we're going to let it go there. But hey, guys, I just want to make sure you understand this. Josh has his own YouTube channel, and it's a really good one. He also has his own coin shop in Minot, North Dakota. So, Josh, I hope people check out your channel, and if they're up in your area, visit your shop. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thanks a bunch.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's chat with Josh. And if you did, let me know by hitting the thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and leave a comment down below. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to support my channel more directly, make sure you check out my channel membership tiers, get access to members-only behind-the-scene videos, a special badge by your name, and more. So hit the join button for that. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.